yebo, welcome to Watch Me Build It. We're out here at Giant's Causeway today in Northern Ireland, and I hope you enjoy the scenery. The people you see walking around behind me are just the tourists who are enjoying the sights of this beautiful part of the world. So, in my last video, I unboxed the Namoki Twin Crown Diver case, and I said that I'd built it for the first time and discovered a problem. And the problem was that when you fasten the case back onto the place where it is at maximum water tightness, the internal bezel doesn't rotate. One of my subscribers suggested a fix. I executed that solution and I filmed it, and it worked. So this video is a step-by-step tutorial for anyone who wants to know how to remove and replace the date wheel on an NH35, how to remove and replace the movement holder, that plastic grey shroud on an NH35, and anyone who wants to see their twin crown Namoki diver case becoming all that it can be. So let's flip the camera and go through the step-by-step tutorial, and I hope you enjoy what you see. Cheers.
So here it is as it was with the loosened case back. So I'm going to tighten up this case back and show you the problem when it is as it should be. There we go. Fully watertight, but the bezel cannot move. Now let's fix it. So here we go, step by step. Loosen the crown. Push in the little dimple. Remove the stem. Pop the movement loose and turn it out onto the movement cushion. Now we will gently reinsert the stem. Turn the movement round, put it into the movement holder, and align all of the hands. Once they're aligned, we'll drop some protective film over the hands and dial and bring in our Bergen Presto hand removing tool. You want to spend money on the Bergen tool because the replicas can harm your movement. Now we take a flattened pegwood and we use it to gently remove the dial. We're ready for our repair, but I'd like to show you a hack that I discovered. Before you do anything, advance the date change wheel so that these two little spurs are over the second plate. This will help you tremendously as we move on with the rest of this repair. So here we go. These two tabs where the dial feet go, they are being covered by the date wheel. Therefore, we need to remove the date wheel. So we begin by loosening the 4 screws. This is obviously sped up so that you don't get bored. We take the screws out with our tweezers. When they are loose, we remove the top plate. There is a brass gear underneath this top plate. It's fixed onto the plate. Gently remove the date wheel. Now, did you see that second plate, how it's loose? That wouldn't happen had I advanced the date wheel. No worries. We carefully relocate that second plate, and then we bring the top plate back into position. I want to do this so that I don't lose any of the gearing and I don't disturb any of the keyless works while I'm busy with the movement ring. Careful and gentle work. You want to ensure that the screw holes are aligned and that it's sitting flush. When that's the case, you reinstall the 4 screws one by one. Here we go. Now we remove the movement, turn it dial side down, and gently use your thumb to press the tabs away from their position towards the dial side. Once the two tabs are unclipped, the rest of the ring unclips easily. There we go. Now you have your movement ring. As you take a careful look at the ring, you'll see that there are spurs and feet all the way around the ring, and these are what we are wanting to remove. So I've covered my movement cushion with some protective film. I have a diamond file, and I slowly set to work at gently filing the spurs and feet away. You really want to make an effort to not file away the actual flange of the ring, and you need to avoid filing away those tabs where the dial feet are seated. Neaten up the edges a little when necessary, and I bring my puffer in and make sure I've cleared all of my filings well away. I'm ready to reinstall, and I just want to help you with orientation. There's a point where there are two channels cut into the ring. That's where your stem is going to go. Then that semicircle cut out on the movement is where the tab goes. You turn your movement ring around, you bring it in from the dial side, and you begin by aligning the tabs with the two semicircle cutouts on either side of the movement. When they're aligned, you just gently begin to push and click. Literally, you click the movement ring into place around the movement. Be careful not to touch the escape wheel on the work side of the movement. If you're careful, you can use your rotor to cover that escape wheel and reduce your risk. Now I'm just inspecting carefully to ensure that I've clipped it in and ensure that the tabs where the feet go are seated well. There we go. You can see the tab up in the 11 o'clock position. I'll just show it to you. There's that tab, and there's one on the opposite side. Just making sure everything is seated as it should be. Sorry about the focus. I kind of enlarged this image, so I'm losing resolution. Right, there we go. Back into the movement ring. What are we going to do now? Well, we're going to reinstall the date wheel. So we speed up the footage, because you've seen me do this. Remove the screws. You'll notice that I have advanced the date wheel by this point in time, and look how nicely this top plate comes off, and the bottom plate remains in place. I drop the date wheel in, and now I try and seat the date wheel, and it has a little bit of difficulty finding its place. There we go. And that's because this is your spring that holds the date wheel in place. So we're going to tension that spring up now. What we're going to do, we'll be holding our date wheel in place with pegwood, and we use tweezers to pull the spring back and gently maneuver the date wheel to its position. Watch here how the wheel finds its rest as I let go. Look there. It's in a position of tensioned rest right now. It's sitting flush, and I know I can bring my top plate in. I'll bring it in. Remember that brass gear, that needs to find its place up in the quick set works, just where the stem is. I take my time to make sure everything is seated flush, and I'm not forcing anything. And when I'm happy that all is seated flush, I install my 4 screws. Right, they're installed. Now I'm winding on the hours, watching the date change wheel very carefully. I want to ensure that this does my daily switch over. There we go. Right, the date change has happened. I advance that a little more. Now bring it to the quick set position. Yes, the quick set's working. All is back to the way it should be. Now we just clean the movement up, back and front, make sure any debris is taken and out of the way. There shouldn't be any debris on this because your movement should be far away from your ring while you're filing. Now we do a quick build. Install dial, puff dial, Rodico dial. Wind on to the midnight position and click. Now we install hour hand. This is just a rapid rebuild, not a detailed. Check my date change. Install minute hand. There we go. Make sure all is well aligned and parallel. Check my date change again. We're changing the date at 4 minutes to midnight. That's acceptable. Clean everything up one more time. Use the superb watch me build it technique to install the second hand. This makes watch building a lot easier for me. Right, get the second hand in place. Remove the Rodico from the second hand pusher. Come in and make sure the second hand is properly installed on the pinion. There we go. And we're off to the races. There we go. Can never do enough cleaning. Make sure everything is pristine. Turn the movement round and remove the stem. Put the movement onto movement cushion. Puff, 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 puff the case. If you need to use Rodico, take anything out from under the crystal. Drop the case onto the movement. Turn it all around. Make sure that you've seated that movement in the case. Gently reinsert the stem and crown. There we go. Fasten the crown into position. Drop this all into the case holder. Fasten the case back in with your fingers as much as you can. Protective film, case back fastening tool, and tighten it, right? Make sure it's watertight. Here comes the moment of truth. Now it's as tight as it ought to be, and it worked. The bezel moves fluidly without any disruption. And those hands look amazing on this dial. Success! Yes! Thank you. I put a Milanese strap onto this watch and I was blown away. Here it is, the dual crown diver living its best life.
So, what do you think? Are you up for it? I think you are. I don't think it's as difficult as it looks. I think if you use that little tip of advancing the date change wheel to the point where those two little prongs hold that second plate down, it's not that difficult really. But also, it takes your watch building experience to the next level. So I really think you're up for it. I also think this is an amazing watch. This is one of my favorite watches. I'm going to close out with a bit of footage. And I want to say I'm really glad I went this extra mile, and I'd encourage you to try the same. Cheers.